Here's my attempt at filtering water with this water filter inquiry activity. First I had to create the stackable filter, and I used plastic cups, and I started by poking holes in the bottom of each of the cups. I ran into a problem pretty much immediately because the design of the cup, the water was kind of falling down into the recessed area of the cup, so I had to add more holes. Because I was using earth materials in these cups, my original idea was to place either the coffee filter or the paper filter in the bottom of the cup to allow the water to pass through, but the earth materials to stay in the cup. Here's what each of the cups looked like before I stacked them together. I had the gravel in the first cup with a coffee filter. Because the sand and the charcoal were more fine materials, I used the paper filters for both the sand and the charcoal. And I got each of those filters wet prior to putting those earth materials in so that the water could pass through a little more easily. Here's the dirty water that I collected out of the lake in Mount Gretna on a bike ride. I just took an empty water bottle and stopped by the lake and picked up some water and some dirt on my bike ride. I did not attempt to drink it on my way home. So round one of my stackable filter system, I was using the Tupperware container to catch the supposedly clean water as it was filtered through my system. The three cups are stacked together, being held with push pins so they don't fall into one another. And I quickly found out as I poured the dirty water into the cups that the paper filters were not either the correct size, or they weren't they just weren't big enough, or they were allowing the sand especially and the charcoal to seep through. And this time my charcoal was dry the first time I put things through. And you can see in the last picture there that the water is clearly tainted with the charcoal, even though the rest of the dirt and sediment seemed to have been caught by the previous filters. The gravel, which is where the water went through first, you can see has a lot of dirt and sediment trapped on the top there. And you can see on the far right picture, there's some finer sediment caught in the sand. And in the final picture, or in the picture in the middle, you can see that there does appear to have some sediment and charcoal and possibly some sand that got through my filter system. So I knew that some changes needed to be made in order to filter the water a little bit better than what it has happened so far. Because my original filter design did not seem to work correctly and allow the charcoal and the sand to get through, I opted to take a complete paper filter and use a rubber band to put over the cup, and then I placed the charcoal inside that filter. The hopes were to keep the charcoal out of the water as it was being put through the filter system. Because I use a charcoal filter at home on my water filters to filter out just my normal tap water, I knew that I needed to prime the charcoal filter, and the first couple times you use the charcoal filter, the water did seem to be a little cloudy. You could see the charcoal in it, and the instructions on that water filter were to, just continue to run water through the filter, make a couple of containers of that until the water appears to be clear. So I decided to put clean water through the charcoal to make it wet in that last phase of the filter before I ran the dirty water through. The picture on the right is my final system. In addition to using a filter for the charcoal in the bottom cup, I also put a coffee filter in the top cup before it reached the gravel. This was able to clear out the hope was to clear out even more sediment before it even made it to the gravel and the sand. As you can see, the dirty water has been poured into the top of my stackable system, and the coffee filter has trapped a good bit of sediment, and the water is able to go through. However, it was an extremely slow process. You can see in the picture on the right the water coming out the bottom of the cup after it has passed through the gravel, the sand, and the charcoal, and the paper filter, and it appears to be much more clear than it was before. This is what the water looked like after it had finished traveling through the system. I was only able to filter a very small amount of water because it took a long time, and you could only pour a little bit in at a time, so that would be the downfall of this little system. But you can see that the water appears to be much more clear than it was before. However, I would still not drink this because I'm not sure if it has successfully killed all bacteria and parasites. I would still want to boil this water before I attempted to actually drink it. I feel like this activity falls somewhere in the middle of the teacher-directed and student-directed inquiry. Just because the problem was posed by the teacher, I didn't have to come up with the problem, and the materials were given to me. However, after that, it becomes a little more student-directed because we were free to create the process, create the system, and to do with that what we wanted, and use that to justify our response and share our data with the class. So I would put this somewhere in the middle of that continuum.